Hello, everybody, and welcome to a conversation with artist Joan Muller. She's exhibiting in the 7th annual Evanston Made group show online. Hello, Joan. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Lisa. Thank you for having me, and thank you for doing this.
And for having all the beautiful work behind you. That piece I recognize over your shoulder is the one you have in the show. Let's talk about that piece first.
Okay.
What am I looking at? What is that?
You probably have to zoom in on it because it's all kind of one tone. It's called Tears of Sorrow and Joy. It's actually the second one I did on that theme. And the first one was in 2001. I was living in New York. It was right after 9/11. And I couldn't do any of my pretty pictures that I had been doing. It was months before I could go back to it. And that was all I could come up with was joy and sorrow. And it was mostly about my children and my joy at having them there with me and my sorrow about not being able to protect them from every evil. And I think it's probably just a universal mother theme.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been feeling that one again a lot lately. So I thought it was time to do another one.
It's beautiful. Thank you for creating it and sharing it again. What is that part of a series that you're working on right now, or what is occupying your practice at the moment?
That was just an isolated piece. Right now, what I'm doing, I just started doing sort of quilting versions of old family photos. So right over there, over my right shoulder, is the first one, and I'm working on another, and I'm doing them all sort of sepia tone. That one is my mother-in-law and her sister in, I guess, 1920s. And now I'm working on my grandmother and her brother in 1900 or so. I have a bunch of old handkerchiefs and pieces of odd fabric, so I figured I would use them on something with that theme.
And you refer to it as quilting because you are putting fabric layers onto each other, but it's a different style of working and quilting. Walk us through the technique of it a little bit.
Okay, I'm not really sure what else to call it.
Yeah.
It's quilting because it's technically, I guess, two pieces of fabric with a piece of batting in between and stitched together. So it I guess fits the definition. They're mostly much smaller. They started out as, I mentioned to you that I did a crazy quilt one time many years ago, and I was basing it on crazy quilts that I had seen in museums and books that had sort of little vignettes from storybooks, from fiction, from various things. And I made this, it was a full-size quilt, and I used pieces of fabric from grandmothers and mothers and little embroidered things and napkins and tablecloths. And I was making it for my daughter, Jillian, who you know, for her bat mitzvah. And the idea was that she was the first girl in the family to go through this. And I just wanted to give her stories about her female ancestors. So I got these little stories, kind of silly stories, and I made a little scene from each one. And then I wrote the story, and it ended with a gift for her of some sort of words of wisdom based on the story. And it was an immense amount of work. It took me months and months and months to do it. And it was fun, but I thought I'm never going to do a full-size quilt again. It was just too much. I do everything by hand. I don't even have a machine. So I thought, well, the most fun was doing these little scenes. So that's what I kept doing.
So you went from your first attempt was huge, and then you eventually got small. talk to us a little bit about your journey into becoming an artist and when you first started using that title.
I'm not sure I really use that title. I, you know, I tried when I was a teenager. You know, I studied art a little bit, and when I went to college, I thought maybe I'll major in art, um, but I didn't think I was good enough. So I majored in biology, and I went on, got a degree in biology and a PhD in biochemistry, and I've been doing research and teaching science, and but all along I would do some sewing, some knitting, some sculpture. I really like sculpture. Um, I never stopped doing that. And when we moved, when we moved to Evanston 12 years ago, I stopped working, decided I was retired. And I guess that's when I could have started calling myself an artist, because that's all I've been doing. I've been doing these quilts. I mean, I started them long before we moved here. But then I had this idea to do a children's book on climate change. So I guess that's still science. But I illustrated it with the quilts, and I figured, okay, this is a way to tie the two sides of my life together. So I guess now I'm an artist, but
You're an artist and an author. That's so exciting. And who are your inspirations when you come to a project? Are you inspired by other fiber artists and or quilters, or is it the natural environment? What informs your work?
Well, the style itself, as I said, was just based on quilters, women, mostly unnamed, Eugenia Wilcox from Albany, New York, or something, some unknown artist who just made quilts. And I looked at a lot of pictures and read a lot of books, and I just based it on that. As far as, the natural environment, yes. You can see there are a lot of tree pictures back there behind me. Those are all made from scraps of Jillian's. When she makes her, she uses a knitting machine and makes shawls and scarves and things like that. She has a lot of scraps already dyed. So
beautiful. So you use the leftover from her art to make.
I used the scraps, to make the trees. She works with Tencel or Lyocell. It's the brand name for Lyocell, and it's made from tree pulp. It's made pretty sustainably from tree pulp. And so when I started thinking about doing trees, I thought I would, combine, sort of return it to its original state.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
So and then whatever, like the piece that I have in the show is made from an old turtleneck. I don't know if it happens to you, but I get these little teeny holes down at the bottom of my knit tops. Do you get those? And it drives me crazy. It's like a run in my stocking. Even if you can't see it, it drives me crazy. So I've been cutting them up and using them. And that was from, brown turtleneck. And the handkerchief was from Secret Treasures. So I'm just using things that I'm finding around as much as possible.
That's so beautiful. Well, Joan, I'm so grateful for your participation in the Evanston art scene and for allowing us to come in and see all your beautiful work. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. And thank you for doing this, Lisa. This is an amazing project.